This is the Parra podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, and co-sponsors Bo Cook from Loan Market, Scott from Brightside Detailing and Ceramics, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, the official clothing partner of the Parra podcast, and the official media partner of the Parra podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Parra podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Parra Cave.
Yes, welcome back to another episode of the Parra podcast. Troy Warner, your host here, and this episode is the tipping episode podcast of the round, which is round 12 of the NRL. It is Indigenous Round. Now, going back to round 11, I hope you really enjoyed that content, that new podcast of my tips for the week. Whether you followed them or not is another question, but I think it was 7 out of 8 with my heart. It would have been 8 out of 8 with my head. So a pretty good start with that sort of podcast, and if you followed my tips. If you didn't, how did you go? Did you get 8 out of 8? Did you get a perfect round? Or were you like me? Did you get 7 out of 8? Who knows? But let me know in the comments on social media, or message me on social media, and let me know how you went in your respective tipping competitions. Anyway, this is round 12 of the NRL, and as I said, Indigenous round, so a very special round indeed. All of the clubs have released their Indigenous jerseys, and I must say they all look very, very good indeed. Myself, being a Parramatta fan, I'm probably a little bit biased, but I think the Parramatta one looks outstanding. I think one of the best Indigenous jumpers that the Parramatta Eels have brought out. So I've ordered my one. It should be on its way soon, hopefully before Friday night, before the Eels take on the Rabbitohs. But the round starts on Thursday with the Panthers travelling up to Queensland Suncorp Stadium to take on the Broncos, 7:50 p.m. Now, a big out for the Broncos is Adam Reynolds, a massive out there for the Broncos. He leads them around the park. His kicking game is sublime. So a massive out for the Brisbane Broncos. Jock Madden comes back into that half-back position. So this should be a good clash, although I think the Panthers, the form they showed against the Roosters last week, they were on fire at home, 48-4 I think it was, against the Roosters, a premiership contender who are struggling a little bit at the moment. So they are a near full-strength side, the Penrith Panthers. So the defending premiers, they'll go up to Brisbane and hopefully reverse the round 1 game that they played, where the Broncos got over the top of the Panthers 13-12 at Penrith Stadium, Bluebet Stadium I should say. So hopefully for the Panthers, they'll be hoping to go up there, put in a great show and get the win up on the Broncos' home turf this time. I think they will. I'll tip the Panthers in this game. Friday night, 6 p.m, sees the Dragons take on the Roosters in a interesting game. They're all interesting games, but this one, Anzac Day, if we look back to Anzac Day, the last time they played, it was 27-26 to the Roosters, so a very close game there. The Dragons, however, announced today at the time of this recording, have parted ways with head coach Anthony Griffin, so temporary interim coach will be Ryan Carr, his assistant coach. So a little interesting point there, that sometimes, and majority of the times, when a team gets rid of their coach, that team ends up winning that week. So will that continue this week? Zach Lomax is back for the Dragons, back in that centre position, so no doubt he'll be the goal kicker for that team, the Dragons. Jacob Little is back as well, along with Francis Molo as well. So a few ins there, which is probably the sort of strongest team that the Dragons could post at the moment, but as I said, they've been struggling the last couple of weeks under coach Anthony Griffin, and now they have parted ways. The Roosters, they are without Joey Manu, who has got a ankle injury. Jared Warira-Hargreaves has been named at prop. He also suffered an injury last week against the Panthers, so it'd be interesting to see how severe that injury is. He has been named to play. We'll just have to wait till further on in the week and see if he'll be actually playing. This game will be played at Cogra Oval, Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. I think the Roosters will bounce back after last week's defeat to the Panthers and get this victory. Although, as I said before, interesting, when a club departs with their head coach, they usually step up and win, but I can't see the Dragons getting this one. The Rabbitohs and Eels, what a cracker of a game this will be. Looking forward to this one, with myself being a Parramatta fan. Look, it's going to be tough for Parramatta to get this victory. They don't have the best of records against the Rabbitohs, sort of a bogey team that you could call the Rabbitohs against the Eels. The last meeting was last season, and the Rabbitohs got that one 26-0. I think that was the return of Latrell Mitchell, or one or two games into his comeback into that game. And then before that, that was the 2nd of July, the 30-12 win at Accor Stadium. That was Latrell's return, or one or two games into his comeback. But then also at CommBank Stadium as well, the Rabbitohs got the win 26-0. So they've got a little bit of a edge over the Eels at the moment. The Rabbitohs are in quite great form at the moment. They've won their last 5 games, and they see themselves on top of the NRL ladder at the moment. The Broncos have slipped back down to second position. So, look, it's going to be tough for the Eels. Sean Lane is out, the second rower, between 6 to 8 weeks with a hamstring injury. So a big blow there, not only to Parramatta, but also to Sean Lane himself, who at the start of the season sat it out with a broken jaw. So unfortunately, bad luck for him. Let's hope he recovers pretty well and will come back bigger and fitter than ever. Mitchell Moses returns from his concussion that he suffered in Magic Round against the Gold Coast Titans, so that's a big in for the Parramatta Eels. So, look, as I said, the Rabbitohs on fire. Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker, Campbell Graham, all playing for Origin spots. Damien Cook as well. Cameron Murray, Jai Arrow for Queensland, playing for Origin spots. Junior Paolo for Parramatta. He'll probably be the most likely Origin front rower for New South Wales, and probably the only player that will be out for Parramatta during the Origin season. Other players, maybe Jermaine Hopgood might get a berth for Queensland. Ryan Madison might be a smoky for New South Wales, but at this point in time, probably Junior Paolo will probably be the only Parramatta player out for Origin duties. But with those players for the Rabbitohs auditioning for a spot, look, the heart says Parramatta, but I think, I would really like to see Parramatta get the victory. As I said, bit of a bogey side for the Eels, and also the Eels need a win to get back up that ladder, get those 2 points, climb slowly up that ladder, get a bit of confidence back. But I think the Rabbitohs will get this win. It's at Allianz Stadium, so they've moved from Accor Stadium to Allianz Stadium for this game. It is Indigenous Round. We do see the Rabbitohs step up for the Indigenous Round games, being a proud Indigenous club. So, I think the Rabbitohs, I'll tip the Rabbitohs in this game, but I'd love to see Parramatta win this game for sure. Moving on to Saturday, Super Saturday kicks off this game is actually in Coffs Harbour. So the Sharks are taking their home game into the country areas, so up to Coffs Harbour for this game against the Knights. The Sharks, they look relatively full strength. They had a good win against Manly last week. The Newcastle Knights had a cracking win over the Gold Coast Titans in a very high-scoring game. They're near full strength, the Newcastle Knights. Kalen Ponga had a cracker of a game last week. Obviously, he's in that battle for that fullback position with Reece Walsh for that Queensland spot. Tyson Frizzell as well, maybe a smoky for that New South Wales side as well. He's been in Origin before, he's done the job before, so maybe he may get another call up. Nico Hines, he's in a battle with Jerome Luai for that 5'8 spot for New South Wales. So he'll be obviously on audition again. I think the way that the Sharks are playing at the moment, I think they will get the win in this one and show the Coffs Harbour crowd that and really appreciate playing up in Coffs Harbour as well, and giving back to the country areas. So I'm going to go the Sharks in this one, although you may see the Knights give the Sharks a good run for their money, but I think the class of the Sharks will get that one. The second game of Super Saturday, 5:30 p.m. sees the West Tigers take on the Cowboys, North Queensland Cowboys, at Leichhardt Oval. So the Tigers back to Leichhardt for this game. 2005 grand finalists. They've sort of had a little bit of a rivalry since then. Both clubs have been struggling this year. The Tigers, unfortunately for their supporters, are on the bottom of the ladder at the moment. In saying that, they have played in what I think has been some pretty good football over the last 3 weeks. They obviously knocked off the Panthers 12-8 at Bathurst in driving rain and terrible conditions, and then they beat the Dragons up in Magic Round. They lost to the Rabbitohs 20-0 last week at Accor Stadium, but I think they really gave the Rabbitohs a run for their money. I thought that a lot of people probably thought that the Rabbitohs would put a score on the Tigers, but credit to the Tigers. They stood in there and they really gave it a good shake, but they weren't able to come away with the victory. This game last year up in North Queensland was a little bit controversial. It ended up the Cowboys got the win 27-26, but a little bit controversial in that game with I think it was the short kickoff was a penalty. So we all remember that one. But the Cowboys are definitely not the team of 2022, although they have shown in the last couple of weeks that they are slowly getting back to that, having some wins, and their defence is getting back to that, but they're not the same team as 2022. A few of their players as well auditioning for Queensland Origin spots. Kyle Felt, Valentine Holmes, you would think would probably get a spot anyway. Tom Dearden as well. Ruben Cotter, you would probably think he would get a spot as well. So there's a few Queensland players there. Reece Robson has been mentioned for New South Wales, but I think he would probably be behind. This will be a good battle actually between Api Koroisau and Reece Robson. So the two hookers in this game, potentially challenging Damien Cook for that hooking position for New South Wales. So whoever has a great game in this one, I think may just get that 14 position, although you would probably think at the moment Appy's probably a little bit in front of Reece Robson, but should be a good game this one at Leichhardt Oval, the 8th wonder of the world, what some people call it, the Tigers fans call it, the Tigers players call it, the Tigers legends call it. So I think, I'm going to go the Tigers in this one. I think they will get this win at home, and as I said, I think that the Cowboys aren't the same as last year, so I think they'll get the win, and let's hope Alex Twal can get a try. Everybody in the rugby league community is on Twal watch, so let's hope he can get over the stripe for his first meat pie. Saturday 7:35 sees the return of the Dolphins, who had the bye last week, up against the Storm, who had a good win against the Broncos. So a lot of ins for the Dolphins. I call them the Redcliffe Dolphins, but they're known as the Dolphins. Brinko Lee, Edric Lee, Jesse Bromwich, Ray Stone, Mark Nichols. So Jesse Bromwich, that's a bit of a Melbourne connection there. Obviously, Jesse Bromwich, Kenny Bromwich, and Felice Kafusi playing against their old club for the first time. So that should be interesting to see how they go. I'm sure they'll be up for the challenge as well. They'll be up for the challenge, but this will be interesting to see how they go up against their side. Jared Wallace, Tom Gilbert, you would say maybe challenging for Origin spots, Felice Kafusi as well. This one played up at Suncorp Stadium, so this is one of their big games against the Storm. The Storm pull a good crowd. They've got a good support up there in Brisbane, so good to see that they've gone to Suncorp Stadium for this one. So I expect a big crowd there. First time these two clubs have played. Their form guide's a little bit the same. The last 5 games, both teams have had win-loss, win-loss. So, win-loss, win-loss, win. So, they're both on the same sort of trajectory. The Dolphins, they're in 6th position at the moment, and the Storm on 5th position as well. So, very close, evenly matched teams on the competition ladder. I think, though, the Storm, with their experience, the news for the Storm that Craig Bellamy is going on for another year for 2024, so that may give them a lift as well. So I think I'm going to go the Storm in this one, just for the experience, the Cameron Munster factor. Jerome Hughes is coming into his own now, and obviously you've got to watch Harry Grant as well in the hooker position. So he'll be playing for that Queensland Origin spot as well. Whether he starts or on the bench, who knows? He'll probably will start, and you'll probably see Ben Hunt on the bench. So I'm going to go the Storm on that one. Bulldogs and Titans, Sunday 2 p.m. at Accor Stadium. Bulldogs versus Titans. So both teams coming off a loss last start. Look, this could be this is a really interesting game. I think this could go either way, actually. The Titans had a good win against Parramatta, had a loss against Manly. The Bulldogs, they have been playing some good footy, but they just haven't been able to get the wins at the moment. They've had one win out of their last 5 games. Likewise, the Titans have had 2 wins out of their last 5 games. So both teams are struggling a little bit this season. The last time they played last year was 36-26, so a very high-scoring game, just like the one that the Titans played last week against the Newcastle Knights. The Bulldogs, they'll be looking to bounce back. Josh Addo-Carr has been named again on the wing. Last week he was named, although he pulled out. A really important game for Josh Addo-Carr, probably an emotional game as it is Indigenous Round. He is a proud Indigenous man representing his people, so I dare say will be playing this week in another audition for an Origin spot as well. Obviously he missed out last year for a spot. Matty Burton, maybe he might get a spot on the New South Wales bench. Look, I'm going to tip the Bulldogs in this game. I think they may get the win only because it's at home. Big occasion game for a few players. I think the Bulldogs will get the win in that one, so I'm going to tip that one. And to round off the round on Sunday, down at GIO Stadium, we have Canberra taking on Manly. So 7th versus 12th. This should be it should be interesting. I think that the Raiders, they're in form at the moment. They've just won their last 5 games, including that game last week against my Eels, 26-18. The Manly side, 2 wins from their last 5. They've been struggling a lot this year. Tommy Turbo, I don't think will get picked for New South Wales Origin. He just looks a little bit worried about his hamstring and his injuries and the like, so I don't think he's that confident. He may say otherwise, but it just doesn't look right on the field, and it's just not working for the Manly Sea Eagles at the moment. Along with South Sydney, the Raiders are the form team of the competition, having won their last 5, so they've gone from down near the bottom of the ladder right up to the top, so 7th position anyway. But 5 wins, massive confidence they have at the moment. Last time they played, it was 48-6 to the Raiders down last year, 2022. And that game was played down in Canberra as well. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be too cold, although it will have a little bit of a chill factor. But not as bad as a night game. So I'm going to tip the Raiders in that one. They beat my Parramatta side last week and they're in form. I'm going to go the Raiders at home for that one. And the New Zealand Warriors have the bye this week. So just a recap on my tips for this week. I'm going to go the Panthers, the Roosters, the Rabbitohs, the Sharks, Tigers, Storm, the Bulldogs and the Raiders. So that's my tips. Are your tips any different to mine? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts about these games. And happy tipping, and I hope you're really enjoying this extra content. Thank you very much for listening, and I will join you next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parra Podcast. See you next time.